Hi guys, welcome back to our podcast, Young and Yielded.
Yes, today Haley is going to be sharing her testimony.
Yes, whoop whoop.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what a testimony is and why?
Yeah, so a testimony is just your experience that you went through to finding God and like the things that I guess you are currently placed in, the things that you have gone through to like experience the goodness of God, and just like how God has kind of showed up in your life. And so I'm going to be sharing a little bit about how I first came to God and first came to know him. Praying, I don't cry. I like went over this with my cousin the other day and I just started bawling out of nowhere. I was like telling myself, I can totally do this, like it's fine. And it just came out of nowhere, which happens. So it's okay. But I think like everybody's testimony is just as important as another person's. And I think like all the things that we go through are just as important as the next. And so I just want to say that like I don't think I'm more important than anybody else. And I just like I feel like sharing testimonies is so important and it's so encouraging to other people because like you never know what that person's gone through. And like if you're going through the same thing, maybe it can encourage you and help lift you up, like knowing, I can get out of this, like I can get through this because my friend went through this or because this person has gone through this as well. And so I hope it's just encouraging to the people who are struggling right now or who have gone through this or have experienced like a friend going through this. Like it's normal, I guess. Everyone goes through trials and tribulations, and so I'm excited to share mine and hopefully Riley will share hers soon. But for today we'll focus on my testimony.
So I guess you're just kind of start from the beginning. You can jump right in, I guess.
I guess we'll just jump right in. Hopefully I don't leave out anything. I always do that. I like say it all and then I like regret what I left out, but I'll try to get through it. Okay, so first I guess I always kind of grew up in the church. It wasn't as consistent, like going every week. I probably went like every other week or like once a month growing up just because like that's how I was raised. And so I never truly like knew God. And I feel like that's kind of how a lot of us have grown up. Or some might have never have gone to church or I don't know. But that's kind of where my story starts. And so I was about I don't know how old I was, 12 or 13 or 11. In between there, that age group. I have the worst memory, so bear with me. So I was about like 12, I would say. And I was super close. I've always been super close with my family growing up. And so my cousin, when I was like 12, really was just struggling mentally. And so one day I had a bunch of family over and we have this big field right next to my house. And so I didn't really know what was going on. Like there was police cars all over outside of my house and like all my family, like a lot of my family was there. And I was just like asking like, oh, what's happening? Like what's going on? And none of them really told me anything. And so when they found out, my cousin committed suicide right outside in that field right by my house. And so when I heard that when I was little, like it broke my heart. Like I never really thought about suicide before that, and it never really like came to my mind. I mean, I feel like it doesn't really come to a lot of people's minds until they experience it personally. And for me, I'm so like, I don't know what's the word, like I'm very sensitive, I guess, to a lot of things. And especially when I was little, like I haven't experienced a ton of the world. And that was like the first major thing that I've experienced. And hearing that information, like it broke my heart. And I just started bawling right there on the spot. And like my family like comforted me. But it was just really hard. And like a few weeks, like that first week coming up, like I was okay. But then like a couple weeks after that, I just started feeling so much fear, so much anxiety, so much like depression. And it was coming up to like, I think I was in middle school, because I remember coming to you and Tatum at like the lunch table, and I like told you guys, I think it was 7th or 8th grade, and I like told them like what happened to my cousin. I kind of waited a little bit because I didn't really want to say anything. But yeah, and then that was like COVID started happening, and I just fell into this deep, dark state of like depression and anxiety, and like every every second of every day I thought about that, and I thought about like myself, putting myself in that position, like what if I commit suicide, what if I do the same thing, just because I was so mentally unstable at that time. And it was really hard for me because I didn't really speak my mind at that time. Like I didn't really tell my parents what I was feeling or what was going through my mind. And so my mom like knew something was wrong with me. Like she knew I was struggling. And so I was at my grandma's one day, and I was just like, I was crying to her. I was saying like, I remember picturing like a knife and just saying like, Grandma, like, what if I did commit suicide? Like I just kept this fear of like all these like harmful things kind of came to my mind. And it was really hard, especially since I was that little. And so yeah, every day for like 2 or 3 consistent years, I just like kept dealing with the thoughts inside my mind and those harmful thoughts. And so my mom called me when I was at my grandma's, and she was like, hey, like I'm gonna put you in counseling, I'm gonna put you in therapy, and we're gonna get through this together. And so I started going to counseling, and I think about this time, it was freshman year, so it was during COVID, and my counselor was a Christian, and at first, like, I didn't say much, because I think it's hard for me to process my thoughts, honestly. Like, I've noticed that throughout my life. And so I started talking to her a little bit, and, like, after every meeting, like, I felt a little better for, like, an hour, and then afterwards I just started feeling those same thoughts again, like, the same fears, and, like, everywhere I turned, like, I couldn't be alone because I was afraid what I would do. And so I always, like, I stayed by my parents or by my friends or something. And I just kept going to therapy, and I remember this one verse that my counselor showed me from the Bible. It was like these little draw cards, or I don't know, like the color cards, and it had this verse, Philippians 4:13, I think is what it was, and it's through I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I just started bawling because, like, I don't know why that verse just really, like, touched my heart. And so I went home that day and I opened my Bible because, like, my counselor kept encouraging me to, like, reach out to God and, like, open my Bible and kind of just see what I found out for myself. And so I did that, and I went home, and the first verse that I read was Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And in that moment, I just, like, felt a huge weight, like, lifted off my shoulders, and it was amazing. And that's the first time that I really felt God's presence, like, was when I was in my deepest, darkest place, and, like, he reached out, like, he was there. And, like, the thing I realized, like, I didn't know he was always there, but he was. And it was when I finally, like, reached out to him and, like, called for him and, like, asked him for help. Like, he's always willing to help us. We just have to be accepting of it. And that was the first time that I really was accepting of him. And then, like, a few weeks later, one of my friends, Katerina, she invited me to youth group into church, and that's where I met Yessie and Elijah. And I just kept building my faith, and, like, I kept coming to church more consistently, and it was amazing just kind of having that refresh of, like, knowing God. But I did keep struggling for, like, 2 years after that. Like, it was still really hard for me, just kind of processing those thoughts and, like, being accepting of myself, because I was like, why would I ever think of those things? Like, why? And so, yeah, I always had that question in my head too, was like, why? And I think, like, God answered it throughout time. But yeah, I kept going to youth group more consistently. I kept going to church, and I invited Riley to church, or to youth group, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of a blur for me. Like, I can't remember when that happened. Do you remember?
Do you remember when we had a youth group at the other place?
Oh, the house.
The house?
Yeah.
That was, like, the first time I went.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. I forgot we have youth group there. And then, I don't know, I found such a firm, solid foundation within my friends, like, my friends in Christ. Like, it goes back to, like, the community episode. I guess that was just something that was really, really encouraging to me. And so, like, I started just finding friendships within the church. And I kept going to counseling, and it was amazing just being able to talk to someone about it, being open about what was happening in my life, because that really helped me to process my own thoughts. And And yeah, it was really amazing. And I'm trying to remember, like, I kept struggling for years, but I think it's just like through time, learning who God is and trusting in him, and like learning that I am made in Christ. Like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And that was really what, like, I can get through this because I know God is right by my side. He is with me. And that was really what helped pull me out of like this anxiety of these thoughts. And so, yeah.
I think that it's important to, like, I know that there's still been like weeks in the past where you've shared like at life group like that you still just keep thinking about those things, but I think it just shows your growth because it's not something that like that those seasons of hard times aren't something that go on for forever, like years. Like, you just lean into God, and so like it shows how you've grown spiritually.
Yeah, I think like there's highs and there's lows. Like, there's the top of the mountain and there's like the the valley. The valley. Oh, another verse that just came to my mind. What is that? The rod through the valley of the shadow of death. Like, what is that one? That just reminded me of it. I'm
not sure.
Oh, shoot. What is that one?
Psalm 23.
Yeah, Psalms 23. Look it up. Because I can, or you are, man, you are my rod and my comfort. My rod.
And your staff, they comfort me.
Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Oh, goodness gracious. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Right?
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and staff, they comfort me.
Yeah, that was also a really big verse. Even though I can't remember it right now. That was a really big verse that got me through just those rocky paths as well. And like Riley said, like, I feel like when I got baptized sophomore year, I'm pretty sure, that's really when I like started, I was like, I felt anew. Like, I felt like I was on fire for God and like all these things, and that fire slowly just burnt away because like, I'm still on fire for God, of course, but like that new experience, like, I know God personally now, and so it's like every day is just like a new walk with him, and every day is a struggle. And like Riley said, like a couple months ago, I just having those scary thoughts again, and it was for like a week. It was like a short amount of time, but I think that when I'm closest to God, the devil just tries to come at us more, and I really was feeling it at that time. But it was amazing to just have my girls praying over me and comforting me through it, and knowing that, like, even though, like, I got through this once and I can get through it again, was what Yessie prayed over me. I remember that, and that was really encouraging to me, and I got through it again. And it just made me even stronger in my faith. So
I remember at life group last week we were talking about, I forgot what we read, but it was about how, who was it that he
Moses?
Yeah, and then like right after he like, was it like he declared like that he believed in God or something like that?
Moses?
I don't remember, but then he got sent to the wilderness. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know if this is very correct, but it's like the basis of it is like he like declared like, yeah, like I know God and I love God and I'm gonna follow God, and immediately he got sent into the wilderness where he was tested by the devil.
I remember that.
So I think that's like, I don't know, it's a cool thing to look back on, because it's like you still know God, but the devil's always gonna try to tempt you and test you in your faith. So
that was good. No, I remember that. What chapter was it?
I don't remember.
Because I remember it was like talking
Mark
about
1?
Oh, yeah. Because I remember it was talking about, so first, like, Jesus came and he was like experiencing, can I just find it really quick? Because that was something that really stood out to me too. 8:36. I have like 5 drinks over here. So. Yeah. So it was the baptism of Jesus, the temptation of Jesus, and then Jesus calls the first disciples. So like the baptism of Jesus, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Like I got baptized, and then Jesus, like the temptation of Jesus. So like I was on fire for God, but then so much after that, like slowly kind of went down. Like I felt so much temptation again, like the devil was just kind of coming towards me is what I felt like. And it's just like repeating kind of what I went through. But even through that, Jesus stayed consistent in his faith, and he still had faith in God that he was going to get through this, even though the devil was attacking him. And then it says Jesus begins his ministry, and so like the things that he's gone through, like he used that to fuel him and like like I don't know how to explain it, like start his ministry kind of like going out and sharing what he went through, and he was using that love that God had for him to give to other people. And I think that's something, I don't know, I just feel like love is something really important that I've experienced through all of it, like God's love for me, and now like just my love for my friends and like the people around me. And Jesus calls his first disciples, like he took that step in faith, that next step that God was calling him to do, even though it was scary. And I feel like, I don't know, that whole thing was just kind of what my life has been like, in like a little like diagram. So that was kind of cool.
I think that's kind of cool. Like, I don't know, this is random, but like the Bible has different stories, and like depending on how you interpret it, I feel like there's a story for everyone kind of like that they can relate to.
Definitely. And I think like there's just so many things in the Bible, like even if you've read it before, reading it again, like something else can stand out to you just because like that's what's happening right now.
I have a question. This is kind of a deeper question, so
are your question, what is that, a screenshot on Snap?
I had to delete the notes app because I don't have storage, so just ignore that. Why did you say that? They don't need to know that. Okay, what did you do? Oh, shoot. Was there ever a time that you felt like turning away from God because of the bad things that you went through?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's hard to admit it, but I definitely felt like, I think at the beginning, because I didn't fully know God, like I kind of blamed him for a lot of things I was going through and feeling, and I was just like kind of calling out like, why God, like why am I going through these things? And I think like later on he shows me like he really does love me, and I just needed to reach out to him and let him take control of my life and heal me and give it. I just needed to give all the pain that I was feeling to him, and once I did that, once I let go, then he healed it and he took it away. And I think, yes, at the beginning I did question him, but then I put my faith in him and I kind of just trusted him because that was the only option that I felt like I had at that time. So
I feel like that's a common thing. Like I've known so many people who like know God, but then they go through something and they like turn against God, and like, why would you let that happen to me, God? And it's kind of a confusing thing, but I feel like when you are getting close with God, or like you feel like his presence, the enemy always tries to like tempt you or distract you from that. And so I feel like God is never gonna purposely hurt you, and so I feel like it's important to know the difference between like what the enemy is doing versus what God is doing. And I also feel like it's like, okay, but God still, why would you let him do that to me? I feel like it's important because like God let like Moses, I think it was, like be tempted just to test his faith and to kind of prove to him that like God is the only one that can truly be with you and like save you from that. And so it's kind of just like a testing in your faith, like because I feel, I look at it like in a way like it's kind of like, wait, I don't know how to do this. Say you're like, wait, this is kind of weird, but say you're like in a relationship with someone and that's you and God, and then like somebody else comes along and then like you're like, oh, what if they cheat or what if they do something bad with them? You have to like take a step back and trust them in that and allow them to make that decision for themselves, because God has free will for everyone. That's kind of a weird like good analogy, but it like makes sense. I feel like
I think it definitely does come back to free will, because he's like, I think just as humans, like we're all gonna go through things, and it's not all on God to like let us just not go through anything, because where would we be as humans if we didn't go through trials? Like we wouldn't grow within ourselves. Like I'm honestly so grateful for all the things that I've gone through, because without those things I wouldn't be the person that I am, and I wouldn't know God like I do. And I think like it really does come back to free will. Like he's not going to force us to follow him, and he's not going to force us to choose, but at the same time it's our fault that we question God, and it's our just as humans, like, it's our fault that we do question God, but even though we do, like, he still loves us, and he still wants to heal us and strengthen us, and he's always by our side no matter what. And I really think that shows the character of who God is.
Yeah. What did you do when you were feeling so, like, down and having thoughts, like, about yourself and stuff? What did you do to lean into God? Like, what were your, like, things that you actually did? Like, was it just, like, prayer or, like...
Yeah. I think a lot of the time I just read the Bible, and I did pray. I prayed a lot. I think, every time I felt like that fear come on to me, or like any horrible thoughts that I just felt coming, I kind of just stopped, and no. Sorry. Something just came to my mind. Honestly, what I did was I distracted myself and I watched Netflix. Netflix. I'm not kidding. Like,
that's relatable.
And I think something that I learned from that, like, I don't know, I always tried to stop my thoughts by distracting myself and, like, watching Netflix or doing something that my mind wasn't able to think about. And after, like, once I started to, like, talk to my counselor, like I said, and, like, read my Bible, that's when I shifted my thoughts, and I'm like, I shouldn't be distracting myself, because I'm never gonna heal if I keep doing this. Like, I'm still gonna feel what I'm feeling if I distract myself for a little bit, and then I have like 10 minutes of free time, and I'm just going to fall into this deep dark state of depression again. And so, like, I just started realizing the only thing that's gonna heal me is reading my Bible and talking to God and just asking him to heal me and asking him to just lift me up and help me to feel loved and feel seen. And
I think that there's a verse that Yessie shares with me literally all the time. It's Philippians 4:6-7. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present..."
Petition?
That's what I said. Petition. With thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. I think that it kind of goes along with that, because, like, you can distract yourself and, like, push all your feelings, like, into a closet, but at the end of the day, they're still going to be there.
Yeah.
So the only thing that's truly going to help is if you literally stop what you're doing and pray to God and cast your worries and your fears and anxieties onto God.
I think that's so good. And I think if we don't, like, it just builds up in us, and it's hard. It makes it even harder, and we just put ourselves in that position. Yeah. And even though, like, sometimes I don't want to read my Bible, I'm not going to lie, I still do it anyways, just because I know how much better I'm going to feel in the end, and I know that God is going to fill me up by just spending that time with him.
By going through everything that you went through, what advice would you give to someone who is currently struggling with similar things?
Yeah. I think, like, I don't know, I think, honestly, just leaning into God, I think praying to him is really the first step. Even if you've never prayed before, or if it's uncomfortable to you, just get down on your knees. Or if you don't want to get down on your knees, just take some quality time and be by yourself and just talk to God and ask him, Lord. Just, like, say, Lord, like, I need you. I have been feeling this pain for so long. Like, I need you to heal me. I just pray that you would come to me and just, like, take this away. Or if you know someone else that's struggling with this, like, I would honestly, reach out to God. Like, open your Bible. Or just, like, get into community and find people, ask for prayer, ask for help. I think just get out there and, like, talk to somebody about it, because that's really, like, the first step is talking about what you're going through and, like, deciphering your thoughts, because that was a big thing for me. Go to a therapist. It actually really does help, for me at least. I know it's like there's, like, this stigma, like, oh, like, there's something wrong with me if I go to a therapist. There's something wrong with all of us. And I think just getting it out there and, like, admitting to yourself that you're going through something is like a big step, and that it just starts the healing process.
There's no shame in asking for help about anything. Who are the people that influenced your faith, like, while you were going through these things?
Definitely my counselor, Deborah. Shout out to Deborah. I miss her. I feel like I haven't talked to her in forever. But yeah, she was
That's such
amazing.
a counselor name.
Yeah. Definitely Yessie and Elijah and my mom and just my parents, and Riley and Katarina. Those, shout out to all of you guys, because you guys were just amazing to me through all of it. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all the questions I have for you.
Yeah. Okay.
I think about sharing your testimony, I feel like it's so important. It's not like, I want to just like emphasis on like, it's not a way to like get attention. I feel like a lot of people think it's that way, but it's like, there's like, for me, if I was struggling and I heard somebody else that I knew or like through this or whatever that had gone through the same thing, but now they're with Christ and they're happy now, it's such like a, like, what do you call that? Like a,
what?
Relief? Inspiring.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, relief or inspiring to see that and knowing that you can do that too. So,
yeah.
That's
and
why.
I think also, like, I don't know, I realize now I come off as such, like, a happy person most of the time.
Yeah.
And, like, I am super happy now. I am super, I don't know, like, joyful. But it all comes from the Lord, because at one point I was the total opposite. And sometimes I acted completely different. But just, like, now knowing that all that I've gone through, like, and knowing where I am now is just so amazing. And, like, I'm just so thankful for it, honestly, because, it's just so amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like the key to everything is God. So stop, if you're struggling, stop what you're doing and pray, because he hears you and he will answer.
Yeah. I hope this helped at least one person today.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's really inspiring hearing other people's testimonies. And there's been some crazy
I've
testimonies.
Heard, okay, at camp and stuff, they always do, like, if you want to share your testimony, and there's crazy ones that it's like, wow.
I just couldn't, I didn't even know that could happen to a person.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, amazing. Like, I mean, it's just crazy, but it's cool to see, like, that they have gotten through it, and it's so inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. Well, thank you guys for listening. We hope you have an amazing day.
I hope you got something from this and are inspired that God is with you through everything.
Yeah. So we love you guys.
And we'll see you on the next episode.